We've got an email question before we get started, though, on our topic of foreclosures here. Let's go to that, please. It says, my daughter was injured in a car wreck. Her hospital bill will be quite large, and we're going into financial struggle for some time to come. Does it make more sense to try to get more money from the person who hit her while our bills pile up, or try to make a deal quickly so that we can start paying these things off? And that's from Emma. Wow, Emma, I mean, you're in a tough situation. We're talking about homes, and we won't talk about that and just, how that works out with foreclosures. Because one of the number one reasons for foreclosures and bankruptcies is medical emergency and medical expenses. So Emma, it's a balancing act. And so sometimes you have to be very, very careful when dealing with your children. With your daughter, if she is a minor, a judge is going to have to approve any settlement above a certain amount of money. So if the bills are piling up, it sounds like it was a very bad car wreck. It sounds like your daughter may be under the age of 18. A judge is going to have something to say about it. The judge is even going to appoint a special attorney. Even if you hire an attorney, the judge will appoint somebody called a guardian ad litem to make sure that the deal is in the best interest, or the settlement is in the best interest of your daughter. So right now, what you need to do is sit down with a lawyer who does personal injury work, weigh out the pros and the cons of doing something sooner rather than later. Usually the quick deal is not the best deal, but sometimes it is. So that's why you need to sit down and talk with a lawyer to make an informed decision and understand that if your daughter is a minor, you're going to have the judge looking over your shoulder and another attorney who's independent of the process to give the judge guidance, called a guardian ad litem. So I hope that helps you a little bit, Emma, but again, we need more information, more details. You can reach out to us or some other personal injury law firm that might be able to help you with that. Yeah. But James, medical bills, usually, the medical emergency is people go forward, bills start to rack up. Next thing you know, they've got $10,000, $20,000, $50,000 worth of medical bills, right. And Mr. Bill Collector comes knocking.
That's true.
So in Florida, though, let's talk about that, because I can talk about Alabama and Georgia a little bit. In Florida, let's talk about somebody who owns her home. Maybe Emma's owns her home, and she's worried about these medical bills stacking up and that she might lose her home.
Sure.
How does that work here in the state of Florida?
One of the biggest things, and we talked about this prior to the show, that I wanted to make clear when it comes to Florida, is we are what's called a judicial foreclosure state, which means it requires a judge to sign off on any foreclosure. And why that's important is because so many people get a letter in the mail showing, hey, you're in default, or we're accelerating, we're foreclosing on your home. And the visceral reaction from these homeowners is, oh my God, it's like I'm getting my car repossessed. They're going to come to my house, throw everything on the street, and out I go. In Florida, that's not how it works. In Florida, a judge has to make that determination before anything can happen. And even after a judge gives the bank, if you will, or whatever lender, a foreclosure judgment, it still has to, the home or the property still has to be sold on the proverbial courthouse steps. And when in Florida, hypothetically, a homeowner could win the lottery the day before the foreclosure sale and do what's called a right of redemption. An ultimate right of redemption in Florida exists where you can always pay that before it is sold. However, once it's sold, all bets are off, and then they have lost the house. But the important part to remember is that this is a long, somewhat tedious process during which people can always negotiate with the banks. They can hire lawyers to negotiate with the banks. They can hire lawyers to, for lack of a better phrase, slow the process down so everybody does everything correctly. And in doing so, can potentially save the home.
And in a situation where there's medical bills like Emma's facing right there, that doesn't, just because they get a judgment, they don't get to go to foreclosure, do they?
No. That's a different animal.
In Florida, though, if Emma's got medical bills and she's concerned about it being a foreclosure on her home, there's multiple steps that have to go through, and there's something called the homestead exemption.
That's correct.
Talk about that for a few moments.
One of the things that I like to discuss sometimes is why so many people moved here, some of the celebrities, such as OJ. When OJ got a big civil judgment, he moved to Florida and made it his residence. And the reason for that is because they could not collect on it. Florida, we take our homestead very, very seriously. It's one of the few states left in the union where we do take it that seriously. So we make sure, and I say we, meaning citizens of our state and legislators, they want everything to go through a process until a final determination can be made with the courts. This is not a repossessed vehicle. This is not a debt that someone can just come and knock on your door and take your home, regardless of why you're in that debt. And that's the biggest thing I like people to remember, is not to panic, just to just to go through the motions and try and work it out best you can.
Yeah, and so you have lawyers out there. You have foreclosure lawyers that that are like you. If you're worried about foreclosure, you have debt lawyers. We have Michael Wynn on the show. Not only does he do bankruptcy, but he also does these workouts, true workouts on debt collection. And you have to be very, very careful about that so that you're not giving up your rights, and you're not giving up your rights to your homes, specifically in Florida. Now in Alabama and Georgia, since we simulcast on WDHN up in Dothan, we get over into Georgia from WMBB and WDHN. It's a different story. You do have some homestead exemptions, but they're a lesser amount. In Florida, the homestead exemption, as far as collection on judgments, except for foreclosures on the home itself, is 100%. So you can have a $100 million verdict that's out there, or a $100 million judgment out there that's against you, much like OJ had on him. Yeah. And so long as you're keeping up with your mortgage payments, they can't touch the home.
That's right.
The home is protected. In Florida, the home is a castle. In Alabama, it is a smaller amount. It's only a few $1,000s. I think it's $75,000 up in Alabama. In Georgia, I didn't look it up before we got on the show, but it's a smaller amount. I think it's $50,000. So you got $50,000 protected in Georgia, $75,000 protected in Alabama, 100% protected in Florida.
Yep.
So when you say don't panic, better reach out to a lawyer, somebody like Mr. Heath here. How about that?
That's right.
So, Emma, hopefully we came full circle and answered the question for you.